blind review for the PlayStation VR. Let's begin! First up, let's take a look at the gameplay. Blind is a fairy story and puzzle driven game. After a car crash, you wake up inside a mansion. A mysterious man has locked you inside and your younger brother has disappeared. If that wasn't scary enough, you instantly discover that you have lost the sense of sight. To navigate your way around the mansion, you must use echolocation. To do this, you can pick up objects and chuck them. When they collide with something, sound waves become visible and outlines of objects are revealed briefly. Some throwable items are quite small and may be required for a puzzle. Luckily, you can reset the location of key items from the pause menu, so you don't lose track of them completely. Unfortunately, there is only snap turning, but on the plus side, you can move freely. Early on in the game, you receive a cane that can be used at any time to send out sound waves. This makes exploration quicker, as you don't need to search for objects to throw. Exploration is pretty fun, as the sound waves visually look amazing, but the gameplay mechanic does become a bit of a hassle when you're solving the game's puzzles, especially for ones that require you to really take in your surroundings. The outlines from the sound waves are shown for a very brief amount of time, so you will have to be constantly tapping your cane, which can distract you slightly when you're really having to focus on a puzzle. You will want to get into a rhythm with your taps too, as tapping too frequently will eventually make the sound waves become overpowering and fill the screen with a very bright white light. It can hurt your eyes. The puzzles are actually quite varied. Some require you to listen to sound and some having you changing the flow of water in pipes. There is a couple of fetch quests here, but I did enjoy them a bit more than other games because of the sound wave mechanic. It made the search visually more entertaining. I did find the puzzle's difficulty to be a bit all over the place, but this will obviously change from person to person. Although the mansion is quite large, the game is pretty linear overall. The house isn't fully open for you to explore. It's laid out in sections. A door will unlock, you'll go through it, and it will lock behind you. It's up to you to then solve the puzzles in that area, that usually contain a few rooms for you to explore. I actually found being trapped inside an area to be very helpful, as it prevented me from searching other parts of the house for an answer to a tricky puzzle. There is quite a few collectibles in the game. Some are easier to find than others. The easier ones are phones and radios, as they are reasonably large and are not really hidden from sight. The more traditional collectibles come in the form of gems. These also can be in plain sight, but can also be quite hidden and will require you to search every nook and cranny of the house for the full collection. All the collectibles come with a voiceover, so they are worth collecting as they do give a better insight into the storyline. In an attempt to add another gameplay element, there is also a stealth section. I won't show you what you are avoiding in case of spoilers, but unfortunately, this segment of the game is where I lost a bit of interest. Sneaking around is intense at first, but the simple AI really hurts the gameplay, and the absence of a run button makes exploring these much larger areas incredibly tedious. It's not an issue when you're being hunted, as the lack of movement speed makes it that much more intense. But when you're not being hunted in these areas, simply moving from point A to B is quite boring. This part really does come across as an attempt to make the game longer, and it does seem rushed when you compare it to the detailed and more compressed other part of the game. Now let's take a look at how immersive this game is. The simple colour scheme makes the depth in this game amazing. Having only outlines visible really makes everything in the house pop out. When you chuck an object and see the sound waves spread around it, it really does look incredible, and there is always an object nearby that can be used to do this. Although interaction with throwable objects is plentiful, some drawers and cupboards can't be opened, whilst others can be, which is a bit of a shame. It really is quite a creepy game, not only because of the lack of sight, but also thanks to some objects that are found inside the house, like skulls and children's toys. The storyline is quite dark. I don't want to give too many details about it, as piecing everything together is one of the best bits about the game. But what I will say is that the mystery of why you're inside the house is revealed at a great pace, through voiceovers and the ghost-like memories that you see play out in front of you. Most of the time when these story scenes take place, borders appear at the top and bottom of your vision. Although it's trying to give a more cinematic experience, it does break the immersion, especially as they are attached to your head and follow your movement. It just feels unnatural. The voiceovers are great throughout. The main person who has captured you doesn't really sound that evil, but I actually found him to be more spine-chilling because of it. I think its tone was perfect, and it really added to the mystery of the scenario you are in.
Take me to him!
Scott's well. He's not here. It's just you and me. And I'll take care of you. No need to be afraid.
The eerie ambience really sets the mood, and although you're not alone in the house, when you chuck an object and only hear its echo in the distance, you can feel quite lonely. Now let's take a look at the setup and what controllers the game support. I played this game in a seated position just under 2 meters away from the camera. The head tracking was fine and the game did not make me motion sick. The game can be played with a DualShock controller or 2 Move controllers. The other controllers are not supported. I actually found the DualShock to be easier to play with. When playing with the moves, you must hold the move button down to bring up your cane. Doing so makes either turning or moving forwards and backwards impossible, as you can't press the buttons without letting go of the move button. It's a shame because interacting with the puzzles and throwable objects is much more enjoyable with this control scheme, and I was missing out on actually having to hit the cane to see, but I personally preferred a more traditional and fluid movement with the DualShock controller. Now let's take a look at the length of the game and what trophies come with it. It took me around 3.5 hours to beat the game, but keep in mind I was searching for collectibles, so if you're not interested in them, you will likely complete it more quickly. I'm not going to be showing all of the trophies the game has to prevent spoilers. In total there are 16 trophies that can be achieved. There's 15 bronze and 1 gold. A lot of them will unlock naturally as you play through the story. The other ones are mainly tied to collectibles and interacting with certain objects, such as playing with the toys. There is one for solving a puzzle on the first attempt, but starting the game again and quickly doing a puzzle isn't too time consuming. Overall it's a great trophy list that you would expect from this type of game. And now it's time for the verdict. VR is all about transporting you to different worlds, and this game does just that. The echolocation mechanic is visually amazing and makes for a quite unique experience throughout, although it does make solving some of the puzzles a bit of a hassle. The game has a great amount of collectibles, and as they have snippets of extra storyline attached, they really do give a reason for hunting them down. You don't need to find them to fully understand the story though, but doing so will give you a better insight. Overall it's a decent experience. The majority of the game with the puzzles really shines. This part isn't a full-on horror experience. Sure, being kidnapped is a very scary situation, but it relies more on creepy visuals and eerie sound effects rather than jump scares, and the colour scheme works incredibly well with the dark story it is telling. But the final part when stealth is introduced hurts the pacing so much, due to not much storyline being told, and your slow movement speed becomes very noticeable. Stealth doesn't last too long though, and this section only clocks in at around 35 minutes or so, but it does prevent the game from being top quality throughout, and is a bit of a shame considering the game can be completed quite quickly. Beat t-shirts are now available. Check the link in the description of this video for more information.